Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant code calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free, to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials, and the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, a bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. And they currently offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now, listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on that very first order. Also, BCW Supplies is, they provide comics, boards, bags, everything you need for comics. You could type in Pop Anime Comics to get 10% off your order, and that stuff is going up, so please use it if you have a Kickstarter and you need to bag and board your books. And finally, I do have a Kickstarter that is currently going on, and, well, I am at 67% funded, and so I would like to get to 100% funded plus, and I am touting this little bad boy out here. It is limited to 121 metal card right there with my friend DJ Croft, who is a great cosplayer and has got to watch out for. And so go buy my metal card because I like producing them, and I'm only offering 100 of them. And so without further ado, I have David Whalen in mind. So how are you?
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it. And officially on the air, happy birthday.
Yes, it is my birthday. So guys, go back my Kickstarter and go actually buy something from my Kickstarter.
Sweet 16 today, right? Sweet 16 today, right?
Yeah, we can go with Sweet 16. I'll take it, It's kind of my license, or my permit, I guess.
You're free. Freedom.
Various yet, per se. But seriously, it's my birthday, guys. So go check out my Kickstarter. Actually, go to Correct Handed Comics as well while you're at it, because there's a lot of cool comics there. And we're doing something unique where we're sort of not doing an interview. Rather, you're teaching me how to draw, because I don't know how to draw at all.
Yeah, we'll get some of the basics down. It'll be awesome.
So I am very, very excited. But before we really get into that, I do want to actually talk and give you a chance to explain what Correct Handed Comics is, since we have 5 people watching right now.
Yeah, hi, all those 5 people.
We have 5 people, and then there's going to be a bunch more people watching before you start teaching me how to draw. What is Correct Handed Comics? For those who have not seen me interview you before.
Yeah, so Correct Handed Comics is my comic book publishing company. I have multiple titles that I've put out over the last 5 or 6 years as a publisher. I have my ongoing series. I'm trying to reach 50 issues of my ongoing series, The Offspring. I just put out issue 17 in November, and issue 18 is coming out the beginning of February. I have multiple one-shots of different genres. There's horror, there's superhero, there's film noir, there's action adventure, and the one I have coming out over the next couple weeks, actually, it should be out by Wednesday of next week if I do everything I'm supposed to be doing, is a little bit different. It's a vigilante story, but it's done with a little bit of a twist, and I won't say anything more than that. I'm actually not writing this one. I have a buddy of mine writing this one, and I'm drawing, so I'm super excited about being able to get something different out. It's called Hawthorne, and I can't wait for people to see it. I've already started doing some ads for it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all those places. So if you ever want to find me, any of your viewers want to find me on any of the social media, just do a search for Correct Handed Comics, and more than likely my logo, a big blue hand that says Correct Handed Comics, will pop up. And it'll be a left hand, Correct Handed Comics, a left hand.
So this hand.
You got it.
Which is unfortunate.
It'll look this way. It'll look this way. There we go. I'm backwards, so it'll look that way.
Well, and obviously, just so everybody knows, and we're going to talk a little bit about it as you're teaching me how to draw, but if you want to know more about it, obviously I've interviewed David, I think 2 or 3 times at this point.
I think this is number 4. I think last time we talked about it being a trilogy, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah,
it feels like it was years ago when it was like literally 2 months ago, which is really bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
So
I think it might have been before Thanksgiving. I think it was before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was trying to get as many people in right
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving. It
Sure.
was a race to the finish line.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But as I was saying, if you want to know more and actually have more in depth, in the last 2 years, I've interviewed you 3 times, really talking about all sorts of stuff and diving into it. So please go check out those interviews, whether you're checking them out on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere else where you catch my interviews, because I'm all over the place. And soon enough to be in a podcast, hopefully. So obviously, wherever you want to get your audio, guys, or interviews, there you go. But I want to learn how to draw, and since I don't know how to do this, it's going to be so complicated. And before anybody, we get ahead of what I'm drawing, what I'm doing, whether it's good or bad or difficult, I'm going to throw it to my audience. If you guys on Kickstarter want it to be raffled off to all the backers on Kickstarter, or if people want me to throw it up on eBay and donate the money to a charity, and particularly a comic book charity, I will let the comments decide that in the next week, whichever way people want to go on that one of whatever I draw. So having said that, teach me how to draw.
Yeah, so yeah, we're not going to make it complicated at all. And I think I need to say out loud, as an art teacher for the last 15 years, I tell my students all the time, because they throughout their career, they have different art teachers throughout their whole elementary, middle school, high school career, and I tell them you could get 100 art teachers in front of you, and you'll get 100 different ways to be able to teach it. It'll all be teaching the same concept, but in a different way. So I think that I have found with my elementary school kids the easiest way to be understand the elements of art. The elements of art: line, shape, form, value, texture, color, and space. We're not going to be dealing with all of those in the next hour, but the first 3, line, shape, and form, we can definitely do, and we could probably get to a drawing of some sort of superhero today before we're done. So we're keeping it simple, Andrew. We're keeping it simple. You ready?
I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be.
We're going to start with the first 3, the first element of art, which is lines. I've got some dry erase markers here from my dry erase board, and we keep it very, very simple. I tell my students that there are 4 basic lines that draw everything and anything that you'd ever want to write or draw or anything. These 4 lines are horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and arched lines. Can you see them okay?
I think I can see them perfectly fine.
I want to make sure I have enough room for all the stuff that we're going to be doing, so I'm trying not to draw too big too soon. So if you can draw these 4 lines, you can draw everything and anything in the real world. There are, including letters and numbers. These 4 lines create all the letters and all the numbers you'd ever want to, that we have, right? And letters are just pictures that stand for sounds, and numbers are just pictures that stand for amounts of stuff. So anybody who says they never draw or don't know how to draw, they're already wrong, because they're already drawing when they write their name. It's a picture that stands for sounds, right? Or doing math, it's lines and pictures that stand for amounts of things, or whatever it is you're doing with math, right? So to say that nobody knows how to draw is already wrong, right? So we're already down to the basics. Don't worry about messing up. We're gonna mess up. I'm gonna mess up, and I've been doing it for 46 years. Don't worry about this. Okay. So that's our first element of our line. Right? Nice and simple. Those 4 lines make everything and anything you'd ever want to draw. So the next element of art is shape, and we want to make sure we know that they're 2-dimensional, 2D shapes, right? And of course, you know, being Sweet 16, you already know all your shapes, so I'm just going to draw them in: circles, ovals, squares, rectangles, and triangles, right? 2D shapes. You can draw them if you want to. You don't have to. Then our next is 3D forms. So we use those 2-dimensional shapes to make our 3-dimensional forms. So with a circle, we make a sphere, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it. This is the way I think is easiest. So we start with our circle, and we draw what I call the Crescent Moon. See how it kind of looks like a Pokemon ball? Can you see it okay?
Yes. I think everybody can see it better now that you're slightly bigger.
Okay. Our Crescent Moon right there, and then I like to call it the smiley face, from one side to the other, rounded, the way it goes or the way it grows. So if a ball sphere is rounded, all the lines are going to be rounded too. If you draw a line that's straight up and down, unless you're drawing something specific, an object, and we'll get to that in a second, then all the lines need to be curved, right? So with our oval and I'm skipping a 3-dimensional form we'll talk about in a second. But with our oval and our rectangle, our square and our rectangle, we could easily do things like a cylinder with an oval, a line down, and then a smiley face at the very bottom. Right? Mine's a little too short. Remember I told you I was going to mess up too. Don't worry. our cylinder, right? Our cubes, which there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Some people do it where they just draw a square, and then they draw another square behind it, and then they connect the lines. That's okay.
That's how I draw.
Yeah, that's not bad. But there's another way that I like to draw with my students. I like to say we look at the very front of the cube or the rectangular prism, and for a cube, we draw a line down, and you turn that into a Y, making sure all the lines are the same length. I can probably draw a little bit bigger. Then an arrow pointing down. See how the bottom of that looks like an arrow pointing down?
Okay, I'm copying. I'm doing good so far.
Then our what I call bookends, lines straight up and down because it looks like an open book. I call it the bookends. See how it looks like an open book?
Okay.
So and then our mountaintop, diagonal up, diagonal down for a cube.
Diagonal up, diagonal down. Yes, so this is what I've done.
Perfect. Nice. So then you use the same steps for a rectangular prism, and it can be tall like a tall skyscraper building, or it can be wide like a tissue box, right? So all you have to do is make the line up and down, the first line up and down, taller. Your Y shape shorter. Don't make it too short. We want to be able to see it. Our arrow pointing down, right? And I like to cover it up for the kids and say, see how it looks like an arrow pointing down, right?
I see.
Yeah. Then our bookends, and I tell them still bookends, but it's a really tall book. And then our mountaintop, diagonal up, diagonal down. Those are the steps that I like to tell my students because it helps them to really understand the really funny names, and we go through all the directions that they go, and we talk about parallel, all the lines going in the same direction are parallel. That looks good.
Absolutely be auctioning off this sheet to anybody who wants it. You know,
yeah, don't forget this. Don't forget to sign it.
Can start in the comments. We could throw it up on eBay. You know,
we're not even done. We're not even done yet. So with our triangle here, we need to turn that into two different three-dimensional forms. It can be either a pyramid or a cone, right? So let's do a cone first. You can do it one of two ways. You can start with our oval again, just like our cylinder, with an oval, just like that. And then from either side, you make a V shape, diagonal down, diagonal up, cone. Right? And you can use that for an ice cream cone or any other kind of cone that you may see. Like maybe there's somebody, cheerleader screaming into one of those megaphone cones, right? Or it can be something, a cone like a teepee or the top of a flagpole. So we do our top of our triangle. Can you see that okay with that glare there? Let's see if I can. There we go. The top of our triangle there. And then just like the bottom of our cylinder, rounded the way it goes and the way it grows. Just like that. Can you see that okay? There we go. I'm trying to block my light here. I'm trying to block my light so you can see it.
Okay.
So cone. Then we use our triangle for our pyramid, which the steps are similar to our cube and our rectangular prism. I'm going to do it down here. Can you see it okay still?
Yes.
Our line down. There we go. See just a line down?
Got a line.
So for our pyramid, we don't want to do a Y shape or a mountaintop because that would make a flat top, right? We want it to be a pointed top. So we skip the Y shape and we go straight to our arrow pointing down. And without all the stuff, it really does look like an arrow pointing down.
We got an arrow pointing down.
Then our mountaintop, diagonal up, diagonal down. And it looks like a pyramid.
So this is my beautiful artwork, everybody.
That looks good.
This is the most artistic I've been in years.
You're not done yet.
It's amazing. Just quit while we're ahead.
Yeah, so there are other ways to be able to do this, right? Some people might use the dash line. Some people might make other ways to be able to make these three-dimensional forms. But that's basically it. The first elements of art: line, shape, and form. With all these forms that you just made, you can make every and any object in the real world just by adding details to it. Right, so you can turn them into basketballs, you could turn them into soda cans, you could turn them into buildings, you could turn them into blocks, you could turn them into ice cream cones, you could turn them into whatever you want, just by paying attention to those descriptive lines. Is what to be able to add details.
Because my brain does not work like this. My brain works in a very logical and very, you know,
That's perfect.
I guess, like when I understand something on a conceptual level and I understand how it works practically, my brain works that way.
Are you a math guy?
So I'm not a math guy, but I'm a money guy. I'm a numbers
Okay.
guy. Like I can't mathematically do anything. Like I am math illiterate. Like you put a dollar sign in front of a math problem, I will solve that problem within seconds
Sure.
because it matters to me. But if you give me algebra with no practical application, I'm not going to make it.
Well, that's perfect. This is still math with that practical application. Art is not about seeing. Art is not about drawing pretty pictures. You can do that with art. Art is about seeing and understanding your world better. So if you can break it up from line to shape to form, any and every object that you want to draw, you'll be good to go. It's not about drawing pretty pictures. It's about seeing and understanding your world better. So if you can start to see three-dimensional objects like my big mug that I have here, that's a cylinder. Oval top, line down, rounded on the bottom. The way it goes or the way it grows. Everything I just showed you, be able to draw this big cup right here, right? So, but you can also use it for drawing people. You want to try it?
Why not? We might as well.
Everything we just did there, we use it for drawing people, right? So one problem that I keep seeing, I'm going to change color so you can see what I'm doing here. In my 46 years of doing it, is people tend to start in the wrong spot. Anybody who's studied figure drawing knows that you start with the backbone first, right? You probably heard that interviewing artists from time to time, right? So people start freaking out. They say, I can't draw a whole body. You're not drawing a whole body. You're drawing parts of the body. You break it up into its different parts, and you hope that it works out together when you get there, right? So if I was drawing a superhero like jumping off of a building, we would want that front bend to be able to have their back bending. And of course, as an artist, you would want photo reference. You would want to do a whole bunch of sketches before. You would want all that stuff. We don't have any of that stuff, so we're going to wing it, right? So you want to start with just a nice little bend, just like this. Nothing too fancy.
Okay, putting in my bend.
Leaving a little room for the neck. And right here at the bottom, you don't have a tail. So we want to make our character look balanced. So the shoulders and the waist are going to be going in different directions, right? If you put them going in the same direction, it's going to look like they're falling over. So we want our character to have his shoulders going up and to the left and his waist going up and to the right like this. And clearly the shoulders are going to be a little bit bigger than the waist. See how I just essentially made like a bendy eye?
So I should put those lines in.
Yeah, go ahead. We're still on the first element of our lines, right?
Okay. I'm putting in whatever I need to put in. Not too sure how this is going to come out, but that's what makes this fun. Everybody, you're getting an original Andrew here.
Yeah, so we want our character, to be jumping off of a building, right? So we're going to get a leg going out right here, and a leg is two lines because it bends, right? So there's a leg, and I like to put little circles there to know where the knee is. Don't worry about proportions or anything yet. This is all just guidelines.
Okay, so far I got a leg here.
Leg going down. We know where the knee is going to be, and we're going to have it bend out this way. They're really jumping off that building.
It's taking a leap of faith here.
Exactly.
Clearly, like I am. Watching me and what I've accomplished so far, guys.
You're doing great. Yeah, you're doing great.
This is where I'm at. This is like level 1.
And I'm not worried about my proportions. I'm not worried about anything. I'm worried about teaching you the basic starts too. We'll worry about all the proportions and everything later, right? But you're paying attention to making sure your legs are long enough, your arms are long enough. But there's a whole bunch of rules that we're not going to be able to get to in the next half hour, right? So as a comic
artist, new school artist, that's all I'm going to say.
Exactly. So our shoulders, right? Just little circles there. Notice how I'm not really worried about those being perfect. I'm just plotting them in. As an artist, you what?
I feel you. So far, guys, this is where I'm at. I'm learning. We're doing something very different on this episode.
Awesome.
Clearly, I'm taking a leap of faith here.
So as an artist, you want to, it's oftentimes more interesting if parts of the character are reaching across each other, right? Reaching across each other, across their bodies, because that's a little bit more interesting of a pose, especially a dynamic jumping off a building pose. So we want the one arm to come down with an elbow and back up again. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of swinging his arm back like this.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay.
Again, don't worry about each line being perfect. You could do a bunch of lines in there. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Yeah, you got it.
So far, this is getting very, very interesting.
And I'm going to draw right over my three-dimensional forms here. We want our next line to be out here is where the elbow is, and then all the way out just like that. I'm going to draw right over my 3D forms.
Well, I decided to start new.
That's okay. Yeah, you draw a new piece of paper. Perfect.
So I'm going to be auctioning this off, bringing either to the Conflict Legal Defense Fund or the Hero Initiative. So if somebody wants to buy Andrew's original sketch work, his first sketch work, or maybe it'll be given to somebody who backs a physical tier on Kickstarter, metal card, postcard, I'll autograph it. I'll send it nicely in a top loader. It'll all be good.
Nice. Perfect. So now we start building from here, and that's where our two-dimensional shapes come in, right? So we're not going to worry about a head yet. What we're going to do is we're just going to start building where the torso and the waist are. So right here where the torso and the waist are, we want just a little circle here. Just a little circle, oval-ish, circle-ish. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're organic, so it's not going to be perfect. But notice how I didn't go all the way down to my waist. There's going to be space. This is essentially our rib cage. There's going to be space between our torso, where our rib cage is, and where our waist is. And then a little oval for our waist. Again, just basic shapes. This is a circle and an oval.
Okay. I think I got this so far. It's not perfect, but it's a visual sketch.
You're doing it.
Wait till I make this into a Bad Girl piece, everybody. If you don't think I will, I will. I promise.
So now what we want to do, we have our basic idea here. Let's get some feet in here, and those are just basic triangles to start off with, and I want our feet to always be pointing. Pointing is very dynamic. Pointing feet is dynamic, right? And somebody might disagree out there. That's okay. And then my other one's going to be a triangle, but it's kind of facing us. So the triangle is going to be pointed at the top. See how that's going to be the front of our foot where toes go right there?
Okay. Can't see with the glare.
There we go. There we go. Right there where our toes would go.
Sweet. So we got this so far for me.
Looking good. I'd like to see a little bit bigger. You have a big piece of paper there, Andrew. We could have drawn it bigger.
I didn't know how big we can go.
I tell students that all the time. I say, don't be afraid to draw big. You have a big piece of paper. Let's use the whole thing. Right? That's okay. That looks great. I'm joking with you. It looks great. Okay, so now from here, we want to get our head in there, and heads we want it to be moving forward. Our heads aren't exactly on top of our shoulders. They're forward a little bit because just the way our necks are. So especially since we're jumping off a building, you want his neck move forward, right? His head move forward, and we want just that basic oval shape. Just like that.
Okay.
Like an egg shape, right? Our heads are a little bit bigger on the top, a little bit smaller on the bottom. Just the way our heads are set up.
Yeah,
and then we'll start getting our 3D forms in there to mesh out where our features are, but we're not going to draw any features right now. So we want that from the top to the bottom. We want it to look like he's looking out, or she is looking out to the side. So from the top to the bottom, around the way it goes or grows. Can you see that okay? I created a little, just a little line that's this middle of their head to show a little the symmetrical middle of their head. And then we want our eyes. Now, don't draw your eyes too high. People think my eyes are at the top of my head, but they end up drawing their eyes way up here in their forehead. From the top of our head to the bottom of our chin, our eye line is right in the middle. So find the middle of your head, and you can do a rounded line just like that to find where the middle of your head is, where your eye line is.
Okay.
Am I going too fast? Are you okay?
I think I'm good so far. This is what I got so far. It's not exactly perfect. It's a little weird, but I drew like sort of 2 lines in my head.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry. We're not worried about perfect. So now, there are a couple different ways to do it. There are some people who do a style, and a lot of this is from a lot of artists like myself. Their magic book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, right? But there are a bunch of other different books out there that show this kind of stuff. One is just kind of finding the right lines. I'm going to do it on this leg. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to, because I'm going to do another thing that I think you'll really like. But just trying to find like where the leg is, where muscles are, where the knee is going to be, where the bottom of the leg here, right, where the calf's going to be, where the foot is, and just kind of finding that line, finding those muscles. And say I'm not really worried about a perfect line. I'm just kind of getting it in there. That's one way. Or I'm going to switch colors so you can see it. or using our three-dimensional forms. You can start to using your, say we're using for our shoulder here, a sphere, rounded the way it goes to the way it grows. Can you see how I got that in there? Let's see if I can zoom in over there.
Yeah, I see it.
Our cylinder, oval, and then going with those guidelines that we just made, right, in the same direction, the way it goes, the way it grows, and then our rounded bottom of our cylinder there.
Okay.
Then our elbow with our crescent moon and our smiley face, right? And this is essentially one of those draw artist mannequins that you see, right, with all the little moving parts, the little circle moving parts. Then it's going to be a little bit smaller of a cylinder, right, because our biceps are smaller than our forearm here where our wrist is. Okay.
This is going to be fun. So circle.
And again, don't worry about perfect. I'm not worried about perfect. This is just the basic idea.
Putting it in. Go that way. And then smaller right there. And smaller right there. So this is far from perfect, but this is where I'm at.
Looking good. Looking good. So now, little triangle hand here, right? And we want it to be fingers, so one side of our triangle is a little bit longer. See how it's a little bit longer at the top there and how it's kind of pointing out. So it's kind of like a hand coming back like this-ish, right? The other way, this-ish, right? But don't worry about perfect again.
Just putting it in there.
So our other shoulder, just a sphere. Now this is going to be covered since we're going over our body here. It's not going to be oval and smiley face. It's going to be, the curve is going to go up, right? If you're looking up at something, the curve goes up. If you're looking down at something, the curve goes down. And then I'm going to stop right here to do this shoulder, or excuse me, our elbow again, our sphere with our smiley face and our crescent moon. Can you still see it okay?
Yeah, I think I see it fine.
I'm gonna zoom in here so you can see it. And our arm is turning, so we need to turn our line again.
So go small right there. So that's what I got. So proud of myself.
You got it. You're doing it. So then a hand right here, let's do it again where it's kind of coming down a little bit like this, and it's going to be, again, that triangle. But see how the flat side right here, the point is going right here in the wrist, and the flat side is furthest away from the wrist?
Just dabbing it all out.
Looks great. Looks great. Now, where our torso here, down to our waist, just a nice line, and you want to give a little buttocks here, coming out just a little bit. You always want to give them a little culo, a little buttocks.
So right from that.
Now, as I'm looking, this is where you adjust a little bit. As I'm looking, my leg that's coming out here is a little bit too long. I made it a little bit too long. That's okay. It's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my pretty big thigh here with still a cylinder. I like that. See how he's turning his body? This is where you make adjustments. Oh, my leg's too long. So you start making adjustments. No problem. Then our knee right here, circle with our smiley face and our crescent moon there to make a sphere.
Okay.
A little bit of space between your knee and where your calf is, right? So still just our oval right there, but you can only see part of it. And I'm going to move my leg down a little bit here, because while my thigh was too long, for where the leg is now, my calf needs to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm just adding my leg in there.
Okay.
Gonna try to just putting that in there. I don't think she's coming out too good.
No, it looks good. No, it looks good for your first time doing it. Looks great. So then a foot right here. Again, we want that pointed, right? So we did that triangle here, and I'm going to adjust my triangle. My triangle's a little bit off because my leg was a little bit off, and that's okay, right? People have been doing it for 1,000 years. They still make mistakes. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to adjust where my foot is there, and I'm just going to make it rounded. So my rounded part of my foot here, and then where my toes are, I don't really want to see toes because they're wearing boots or shoes. So I'm just going to make it a little rounded, and then where our toes are. And you always want a nice little pointed toe. I'm going to move this down and move this over a little bit. There we go.
So that's my foot.
Look, it looks good.
I'm liking my foot so far. I think that's the best part I've done, clearly.
Hey, for the first time. And then we have our leg on the other side, right? So we want to get the torso on the other side, right? There's a little bit of a bend here. So we can add little areas where they bend right here. Just kind of giving a line in, and then where the muscle is right there. Right?
Got my torso in there. I'm probably going to modify my torso a little bit right there. Sweet.
Good. Looks good. Now then our leg on the other side, right? We don't want to go too far up, too far back, right? So our leg on the other side, we can't really see much of it. So it's really just going to be that that really oval shape because we can't see the top where there's going to be a cylinder type thing, right? So we just draw our oval, and then where our knee is, our crescent moon and our smiley face for our sphere. For our points of articulation, right? For our points of articulation.
Yeah, just gonna narrow that down right there.
Now, as I'm looking, I notice maybe this arm is a little too big for the body type that I have here, so I just adjust it a little bit. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Then our calf right here on this side here, we want to go down. And it's going to get, again, just like our wrist, it gets a little bit thinner as it goes down to our calves, down past our calves and to our ankles, just because that's the way the leg works, usually. Oh, wait, let me get, there's a light there. There we go. You can see my computer screen in there too, sorry. And my face is right there in the camera, isn't it? That's probably great for your viewers. My face right there in the camera.
It's all good. It's all good. Everything's getting a free art lesson and watching me draw just absolutely wonderful. So
I'm going to adjust this foot a little bit. Let's do a point here thing. I was going to have it pointing the other way, but I like the way my body turned out here. So I'm just going to do the same kind of point. Right, point just like this.
Yeah, I'm going to do mine somewhat similar.
Feet are tricky. You ask many artists. Feet are tricky. Right? There's years and years of practice to be able to, years and years of figure drawing to be able to do hands and feet, to be able to do any part of the body. So my 20 minutes we've been talking about it is just, again, don't worry about perfect. This is all practice.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of her second foot. I felt like the first foot was a little bit better, but given that it's my first time, everybody.
Okay, yeah, looks good. So then now we have to connect all our neck here stuff. So our neck is essentially a cylinder, right? So we want our neck to not come right at our chin, right? A lot of times people will put the neck way up here at their chin. It's way back here behind our chin, right? So we want to make sure before we put that neck in, we're putting it in a spot, right, to where it's not coming right out of the chin. I can actually even make my face a little bit darker here so you can really see it. The back of the head. Oh, it's hard to stretch to get that part here. There we go. You're rounded here. Again, don't worry about your lines being 100% perfect. There's maybe an ear, just an indication of an ear here, right? And then right where our shoulder and our neck meet, right here, and on this side too. This one's going to be a little bit higher because it's crossing over our body. the basic idea. You okay? You were silent there for a minute. I don't know if I've heard you be this silent for this long.
Oh, no, 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 no. I gotta move my head down. So I was deep in thought.
Sure.
So I gotta move my head down slightly, and it's gonna look a little weird.
It's okay.
So then I move that, and so that goes right there. And then now it looks like his face is falling off, clearly.
No. It looks good. It looks good.
That's the character right there. You know, I'm gonna draw it so his mask falls off, and in mid-flight, it's his first day on the job. You know?
So from here, you can really turn this into anybody: Spider-Man, Daredevil, Flash. I mean, it's a smaller body type, so you can really turn it into any character you want to turn it into. And it's 100% up to you. Let's see if I did Spider-Man here. Let's see. I like the bigger eye Spider-Man. I like the bigger eye area, so I'm going to get rid of this part here, maybe fix his chin a little bit, his jaw a little bit, to come down a little bit more, just like that. This part right here, do his thing right here. Now from here, you would want to flesh out, right? This is all still guidelines to know where your whole part of your character is. But with these three-dimensional forms, you could continue adding those guidelines in to be able to make it whatever character you want to make it. Right? Fingers are essentially, again, just cylinders. I'm just going to put in fingers here, making sure you're paying attention to the length of each finger, right? That your middle finger is usually the longest one, right? Everybody's different. Sometimes your pinky is a little bit shorter than, sometimes your pinky comes up, but everybody's hand is a little bit different. So I suggest, like everybody else, you just look at your hands as you're drawing them. Right? So we're kind of doing a thing where it's like this kind of a thing, right? Where he's letting go of a web here and swarping out a web on this side, right?
So yeah, no, I'm just figuring out what I want to do with this now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, this would be so much easier to do it digitally. Like, because I would imagine, and I'm very curious, is that the fundamentals don't change if you're doing it digitally versus physically. It's just a matter that if you do it digitally, you know, all of a sudden after a while you might erase certain things with it, where you're not going to keep the knee joints in versus doing it physically or doing a hybrid model, right?
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's the same like any guidelines that I may put in. I'm putting on a different, as a more traditional artist, I'm putting on a different piece of paper, and I put it on a light board with a new piece of paper, and that's when I do all my inking and really cleaning up. So for me, the red was let's make mistakes, let's just get it down, let's see what's going on, let's you know, put them in whatever pose we want to put them in, and then the black here would be my inking that I put something over top of it and say, okay, now let's really clean it up. So all the things that you see with your, you know, your guidelines for with let me erase them out here.
So essentially, if I was doing this on a more professional level, or if I was building my own cover, essentially what I would want to do is almost go and have a rough sketch, make it as big as humanly possible. Yeah. Which is probably a mistake making it this small when I had this big of a piece of paper. And then I would trace the pieces that I essentially wanted or onto something, and then I would ink it, or I would digitally ink it, or however it's done.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, I would go in and essentially turn it into whatever I wanted to. And I'm assuming the same principles apply when you're building out, you know, a vehicle, for instance, versus a human.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's finding the two-dimensional shapes that make the three-dimensional form. So the biggest problem that people have with cars is or any vehicle is that they see it all as one big thing. Don't see it all as one big thing. See it as each individual part, and then build it from those parts. Because if you see it, any type buddy who's a first-time artist or not quite comfortable with certain things will start to feel very overwhelmed with whatever the object is. But if you start with just the tires, I know tires are round, and I know they're cylinders. So let's get that down. And then from there, build the rest of the car. Build the front, build the back, build the middle, build the top. See it as its different parts, and it becomes less, for me anyway, less daunting. Because I know that if one part is right but another part's wrong, I can just go back and fix it. It's not, the world won't end.
Yeah.
I gave up a long time ago being perfect. I gave that up a long time ago. I don't know if my wife agrees, but I gave up a long time ago trying to be perfect.
Yeah, no, clearly this is nothing but
make you bigger so I can see it a little bit better. I can see it, but it looks pretty good. But I want to see.
As soon as I move this over here,
there we go.
This is mine.
It looks great. That looks great. Yeah,
I'm very proud of myself. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's what I want you to do. Okay, this is good, but look at all that paper you have right there, right? So what I want you to do, I want you to go back and watch this again, do it again, draw it bigger.
I will happily draw it bigger, and then I will happily auction it off or raffle it off.
It looks really good.
My Kickstarter. It'll be my first stretch goal that is not comic book theater oriented. And if we reach 40 backers, which we're at 22 right now, I will happily auction off this thing a lot bigger, redo it, make it slightly prettier, but still amateur hour. And but I'm very proud of this because I'm not this is not what I'm good at by any stretch of the imagination. And all I really want to do is draw bagel art and draw really, really pretty women in bikinis and other things. And that's what I'm going to do for my first comic cover. There's going to be a cover done by me in crayon. I promise.
Nice. That's good stuff.
And also for one of my tiers, and I can't tell you when that book's coming out, but it will come out depending on how this Kickstarter does. And where we're at in fulfillment on my podcast stuff. I will offer crayon commissions.
Perfect.
Because that's just the way it goes. And also, I will happily crumple up anybody's book if they ask for it. Hey, you know what is? Why let the post office do a job that I could do for them?
Yeah.
And then what I'll do is I'll double bag and board it. just to be that guy. And I will put "Please bend" on the packaging.
That way, it'll come perfectly flat.
See, and then I'll have it insured for like $300, so that when you file a claim. Nice. So I find this to be fascinating because this stuff, in all seriousness and all that. So you want me to go draw this thing bigger,
yeah,
and better and colorful and I don't know. I should like auction off this one, do it again, much bigger. And then I should go make like an 11/17 print of it.
Awesome.
just so everybody can experience it beautifully. Yeah. So I think that's the drawing lesson, and I found it to be fascinating because I don't know anything about this, and I'm not an artist. I am barely a writer at best. I can speak, and I like to speak as much as I humanly can, but obviously, I do want to talk even more about you and give you a chance to promote, because I know that you have obviously The Offspring, you have a few other things out there, and I'm pulling them up right now. You have Shady Lady, I Won't Stop, Aliens Do My Homework, The Sock Hop Killer. That's a tongue twister for you, and a variety of other things. And so I'm presuming that you use all the techniques just at a slightly more advanced level in your works.
Some would say yes, some would say no, but yes, I do. Yeah, I would say that my style is somewhere in between realistic and cartoony, just because it's my style. It's what I've become really accustomed to doing, and I think it communicates the stories that I want to tell well, and I'm always proud of it when I'm done with it. So.
And the reason why I asked this is that obviously I've read a bunch of your stuff. So I've read pieces of The Offspring. I've read Shady Lady. Obviously, I enjoy Will Aliens Do My Homework, and that's something that I enjoy. And even with this little thing, I see some elements of it, but at the same time, I also know that I am nowhere near that level. if anything, and I produce a comic, I will be the writer. You know, I will not be the artist. I like to use my words a lot more efficiently, but even still, because this is very much the basics of it. And then I'm actually curious because how much does color play in defining, you know, with shapes and everything? Because once you get into things like shading, that also changes shapes and everything. And obviously, that's a whole different lesson for a whole nother day.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what colorists get paid for.
Yeah, color theory and value, adding value and adding depth to things. It really is super important to be able to help tell the story. A lot of people will just, you know, it's the old movie, not old movie, the movie Chasing Amy, where Jason, I can't remember his last name right now. Same guy that was in Clerks.
Jason Mewes?
Jason, no, Jason, the other Jason. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but he played an inker in Chasing Amy. He was in Call Me Earl, or My Name is Earl.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
Pretty sure it's Jason something. Anyway,
Jason Banks, maybe?
That's
his character is Banksy.
Yeah. Well, he made the comment.
The tracer.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Holden goes, draws it, and then I ink it. You're the tracer.
Yeah. And that's what so many people think that an inker does, and it's so much more than that. It's so much more. It really is a talent in and of itself to be able to add that much depth, to be able to really hone in those details, to be able to.
But let me ask you a question, because this is something that actually comes up, and it might even be a dying question to some degree, but inking is almost I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, a dying, you know, profession and a dying skill, because a lot of people do things digitally, and you know, I don't know how to color something digitally, so I don't want to misspeak, but it almost seems like you can point and click if you have a line, if you have certain software, or you just draw over your line with black on certain software, and that versus actually inking something, you know, versus doing it digitally. And it almost seems like a dying skill to some degree.
Well, I think even digitally, there's a level of going over your guidelines that I think most people still consider inking over top of. And I, you know, if anybody else disagrees that with me out there, great, tell us in the comments. But I think that it's still something that is a little bit different from just panel to panel storytelling, and panel to panel graphics, or panel to panel objects, or panel to panel characters. It's something that really does bring out the story and really does help the artist communicate whatever they're trying to communicate. I think it's super important.
No, because again, I don't know anything about this, so if I am misspeaking, you know, anybody can correct me. It's not a knock on the inking or coloring or anything like that. Again, I know nothing about this. All I know is that I will most likely be hiring people who do line work at some point, coloring work and inking work, or digital inking or digital coloring or digital fixing, and a variety of other things. At some point I will be doing that. I will also probably either be hiring a flatter or, you know, having my colorist get a flatter, and flatting is a whole different ball game as well.
Oh yeah.
And my favorite thing is when people ask me, hey, do you need a flatter? And I'm like, no, because I'm the writer. And I'm a podcaster, first and foremost.
Yeah.
The second I need a flatter for podcasting, I will call whoever asks. So I'm just saying, you know, I don't know how you flat a podcast, but if somebody can explain it to me, I'm down.
I don't know either.
That's why I'm asking these questions, because I realize I have weaknesses.
Don't we all? We're all good at things. We're all not so good at things. It's okay.
Clearly. I mean, I just figured out how to draw this, and this is like from night and day. Like if you said, hey, Andrew, here's this, draw it, and you can't trace it, you know, and
Here's what you do. I got the answer for this right here. You don't need to draw it bigger. You can if you want to later, but add little rectangles underneath for a building, maybe one right underneath and then goes down and back up again, and then a little circle for a moon right there. Maybe both little rectangles in there for windows in the buildings, maybe a little Spider-Man web line right there, and you got yourself a full panel.
I'm probably just gonna legitimately rewatch this entire thing and draw it much bigger, and then I'll probably then gonna actually get an eraser and then erase all the things, and then I'm probably gonna draw like Spider-Man or Batman or Gwen, because this seems like a Gwen Stacy piece right here is what I'm feeling.
If you do this right here, right, and then add some rectangles, right, rectangles all through the building, and then just a nice little moon right there, a little webbing right there, right there. You got yourself a nice little Spider-Man thing. All these guys, all these buildings can be black in here, right? Except for the windows, right? I think that'd look real good. You do a little red background, or a dark blue background. I don't know, red, blue, and Spider-Man's costume. You can make it symbiote Spider-Man.
See, I feel like I'm gonna draw this, and then I'm gonna just erase it and make it slightly cleaner, and then I think what'll happen is that, and then if I draw it bigger, I think it'll actually be easier because I'm realizing that I should have gone maybe double size, and this thing would have been so much easier. Drawing it, because drawing small spaces is hard apparently.
Here's the other thing I tell students. Drawing small like that is like playing basketball in a closet. You don't have anywhere to move. You're constantly you're caught in this small little area. So the bigger you draw, especially to start off with, it gives you more room to be able to work, and you can adjust your sizes as you go. I call that for the kids the Goldilocks rule. Not too big, not too small, just right. So to be able to draw a little bit bigger gives you more room to work, more room to make mistakes, more room to find where your lines are, more room to be able to fix those mistakes as you go. So drawing too small is like playing basketball in a closet. You've got no room to work.
I agree. I figured that's another lesson learned today. Clearly. First and foremost, I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. This is all brand new to me, so I figured I would take a leap of faith here, and that I would hope, and that I know how this was going to go. I wanted to draw bad girl art. That's all I really want to draw. Is that I just want to draw, I just want to draw something like 1% as good as Ebass, and I will be happy with myself.
Oh, okay.
If I could get 1% compared to Ebass, I'd be a very happy individual as a non-artist. Now that is a very high standard to just even get that close, and we're 99% off. But if you know who Ebass, Eric Basaluda is, you will understand that go ass, go. That's all I'm gonna say there. Clearly this is not a child-friendly show, so as you can see, the way I drew her rear end, you all know where my mind is. So, having said that, I am going to probably want to draw this bigger for whoever wants it, and if we get to 40 backers on Kickstarter is what I'm thinking, I will send one lucky person this thing. I will draw a raffle. Everybody will get a number, and that's a good reason to get me to 40. We are at 22. It's not that far off, and we got 22 days, and anything, anybody, any pledge, anything is great. So I'm going to draw this a lot better. I don't know if I'm going to throw a background, but this is technically going to be my first original sketches. And if I become a prolific writer, artist, or podcaster, who knows, it might be worth, $5 in 10 years. Nice. So I'm just saying that, you could meme stock it, if you will, and maybe you could turn it into an NFT. Whoever gets it, because I heard those things are awesome. That's what I'm going to be doing for everybody. I'm going to be pointing to everybody this video, but enough of me and learning how to draw. Where can people find you? Because I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself, obviously promote what you do. I think I just created a whole business for you, whether you want it or not, teaching people who want to be pretend artists and wannabe artists, and preferably possibly playing the Spice Girls, how to draw art. But in all seriousness, where can people find you, support you, check out all your books that are out? Where can they actually get your books? Because that's another big thing that I think people don't promote out there. And anything else that is relevant that we haven't touched upon.
Yeah, I'm on, like I said, social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you search Correct Handed Comics, my logo will pop up. And you can find links to all of my books on our website, correcthanacomics.com. There's some inside information there. There's some preview stuff in there. There's links to all of we have 4 volumes of The Offspring out in collected trades, and the first season is collected in one big omnibus, and that's issues 1 through 13 with some extra behind the scenes stuff, some extra stuff in the omnibus that you didn't get in the regular individual issues. So if you're big into collections, collecting trades or collecting in a big omnibus, that's out there for you. And like I said, I'm super proud of it. I'm about to put out another one shot. And that's going to be really starting to hit here in the next week or so. Issue 18 of The Offspring comes out in February, and I'm just going to keep putting out books. I'm going to keep doing my best to make interesting stories and interesting characters, and because I love it, and I'm not going to stop no matter what anybody tells me.
Unless you write a sequel to that one shot.
Though we have some sequels coming on. I would say that the one that we get that I get the most requests for a sequel for is a Sock Hop Killer. It's what people keep asking. We want to know more about the character. We want to see more of this character. That and will aliens do my homework? So those are the 2 that I keep getting requests for sequels. And I've got some ideas. We've got some things in the works here. So we'll see what happens in 2022.
Well, if my art level gets up there, I'll happily do a cover for you.
You can do a cover. I love it. No matter what it looks like, we can make it a variant, and it'll look beautiful. It'll look beautiful. I just don't want it to overshadow my work, so that's why we'll make it a variant.
We should make it a super secret, like retail, limited edition. You have to run a marathon to get it variant.
Here's what I'll do. I'll publish it, and I will order 25 copies of it. And then I'll take it down. You won't be able to get it anywhere else, and it'll be like a special thing that I can add in for people for like in like contests and things like that.
I'll up my art level so that in a year it will actually look amazing, and then I'll color it myself, and it'll be done on like Microsoft Paint 1995. It'll be like the greatest project ever.
That was the best year for Microsoft Paint, so that's a good idea.
We should totally Kickstarter and make it 100. That's what we should do.
I love it.
But all jokes aside, I am going to get my art level up, everybody. I do definitely want to thank you, because I wouldn't have done this. This is all this guy Josh's fault. He sort of made me start doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't say his last name, but he has Just Joshing is his podcast, and he does stuff like this. And I'm starting to do stuff like this partially because of him. So yes, I am stealing from people, and I am absolutely no qualms about plagiarizing.
Yeah,
sure. At 1 a.m. on my Facebook, it's Bad Girl Day. It's Bad Girl time at 1 a.m. on my Facebook page and Twitter. So that's taken from somebody else too. So I got no problem stealing it. If people want to steal from me, be my guest. But just to promote myself real quick, obviously Mixum is a sponsor. They are very good. They are helping to make season 3 happen, and possibly, hopefully, season 4. I have some other sponsors that are coming up. I am going to be producing a show on Fireside Chat that I got invited into. So this is the first time you're hearing about that, everybody. I guess thirdly or fourthly, BCW supplies. Bags and boards are expensive now. Just so everybody's aware, they went up from being $10 in the last year to being anywhere from $14 to $16 a pop. So obviously, type in Pop Anime Comics, you get 10% off your entire order in their store. It is a commission link, so you are supporting a small business, which is BCW Supplies. I like their supplies. You're also supporting me, and you're saving money. And, well, inflation's about to hit everybody, so every percentage point you can save is great. And also that code is renewable. So I know that I just bought $200 worth of supplies, and that saved me $20. So it goes a long way when you're buying real merchandise and buying big orders. And then the next time you do it, you could do the exact same code again. So please go and use that code. And then finally, my Kickstarter is up there. I have tiers from $6 all the way up to $500. So you could go and support anything you want on that tier. 40 will get the nice version of this. I can't promise what it'll look like, but it might be technically my first or second sketches officially. And I will send this out to whoever gets it raffled if we get up to 40 backers. It is an unofficial backer goal, and it will be super cool to have it. I will autograph it. I will not autograph it. You can get it CGC'd if you don't want it autographed. It's completely up to you. It's original art, and yeah, that's pretty much the plan for that. But in all seriousness, please back my project, because I can't do it without everybody, and the more money we make, the further this project goes and the further it becomes incorporatized. So having said all that, thank you everybody for watching, and I'm going to give you the final word.
Thank you, Andrew. Happy birthday. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Everybody go to correcthandedcomics.com. Check it out.
And that is a wrap.